Welcome back to How to Run a Law Firm in 2025. We are continuing to build on our tech conversation. We started with the hardware, then we talked a lot about software. But in this episode, and probably the next one too, because knowing us, we're going to keep chatting about it, we're focusing on AI. And this is a big topic, certainly in the world right now, and it is growing bigger and bigger in the legal space. So I'm really excited about this episode today because I am going to be a listener and a learner much more than a sharer as I have been, and learn a lot from Matthew because this is a space that he is really excited about and dives a lot into. So, Matthew, tell us. I use a little bit of AI, but I feel like I'm just dipping my toe into the waters. I use some of the more non legal based ones, and I love them. So, I can definitely talk about how I use them in my practice. But where do you see AI fitting in? What is the cool new tech? How are you analyzing how you want to bring it into your firm? Because I think that's the biggest question right now.
Yeah, and I think that's a really great way to like sort of start off this conversation because Lauren, I know for a fact that like you're leveraging technology more than most other lawyers, right? And they all have AI built in and you're using maybe non-legal specific AI, but that you think you're not using a lot of AI is like it just goes to show you that like you are, I know you are, and like, but most lawyers are like, well, I've used ChatGPT, so ta-da, I'm AI enhanced and I know how to use AI. So like you are leagues ahead of like the vast majority of attorneys who are using these tools. So, I think that does set you up to be better prepared to, have this conversation that we're going to have today about AI for legal services and for law firms and for everything. Because like we've been talking about this whole series so far, it's like we haven't even really gotten into the substantive legal work. Right? So like this is like a lot of the AI tools can all be used for the non-substantive legal work stuff. In particular, even if you are billing by the hour, which you and I, if you're listening to this, hopefully you don't bill by the
Yes.
hour or you try to
We
get out
we
of it,
we need to
Lauren.
have a discussion. Yes, we have to have a chat.
Yes. So go back and listen to earlier episodes that Lauren and I have had on our individual podcasts where we talk about, value-based billing, fixed fee pricing, subscription, obviously for law subscribed. But even if you are billing by the hour, like leveraging these tools in such a way for the non-substantive legal work is going to save so much time for stuff that you can't bill for anyway. Right. And for those of us not billing by the hour, the less time we spend on something, the more money we make. And so like this AI conversation is not supposed to be scary. It's not supposed to be these tools are going to replace lawyers. I think we're all going to be AI enhanced. And in the same way that lawyers don't say, I use a computer or I use electricity. like like that being AI enhanced will be less of a selling point, maybe even in just like 2 years. So if you're listening to this in 2027, you let us know. Let us know in the comments whether this is still relevant today. So with that though, before I even like get out like my list of tools, which Lauren and I have pulled up here, I have a Google sheet called AI tools for lawyers list and by category. Right now we're up to about 97 AI tools. And I know there are probably a couple dozen that I haven't even added to this list yet that I'm aware of. And then I try to break them up into categories. And so some of them fall into multiple categories. Again, this list is a little bit out of date. I originally put it together for some CLEs that I did. So we're able to sort of look at this list as a cheat sheet and I suppose to try to entice and figure out who's actually like listening and doesn't just want to be a lurker. If you want access to this list, please reach out to us. You could contact me at Kurbis@lawsubscribe.com and Lauren's at hello@adifferentpractice.com. Is that a good email for you, Lauren?
You got it.
Okay. And so reach out to us. Please copy both of us because we're going to make sure both of us see that you're actually listening and email us and let us know what you think about the series so far and ask to get this list shared with you and we'll happily share it with you. So throwing that out there. So before we even dive into some of the tools on this list, Lauren, what are AI tools that you're using or what are tools that you are aware that are powered by AI that like you're actively using right now? Because I think that will also help me figure out like what are some other tools that might supplement how you're already leveraging AI tools or AI powered tools.
Yeah, well, I have to say you already made me feel so much better because I felt like a little bit of a novice in this space, and it is a bit scary, but all of the tools that I have used have really enhanced my practice. So as I do it more, I can certainly see that it is not something to be made fear we shouldn't be made fearful of. but we really have to be intentional about how we integrate it into our practices. So my favorite AI tool that I know for sure is AI is Claude. Love it. You introduced me to it, Matthew, I think, I don't know, maybe 6, 12 months ago. I probably use it every day. I started very slowly and mostly using it for marketing because I just got tired of like, how do I say this thing about my services for the 1200th time? But now I think I use it for every time my brain is like, I don't quite know how to write that. And I have a brain that is very critical. I don't know if there's other listeners out there who sort of feel this way, but I beat myself up so much on just writing like basic email. So Claude is really nice to go in and just write it in a way that I'm like, this sounds terrible. I would never actually publish this, and say, Claude, can you please help me make it sound more professional, make it be persuasive? A lot of times it's like, make it more concise because I just use too many words. So that is one I use every day. I did upgrade to the Pro. To be honest, I can't remember why, other than I just love Claude and I wanted to like, you guys deserve the money. I'll give you the money because it's been so great, but I don't remember what it does differently. So again, novice over here, but that's my number one. And I would say Grammarly, which I didn't realize. So I'm so glad you said that, like, there are probably tools we're using that we don't realize is powered by AI. I use Grammarly all the time. I love it. It again helps me kind of with that language and making sure my grammar looks good, or I'm a terrible speller. So it always catches those things. And then, really, outside of that, I don't know if I have a ton that I use. My ClickUp has AI in it, but I don't use it. Like, I've seen Adobe, when I open that up, it gives me a little prompt of, don't you want to use our AI tool? But I don't
Mhm.
use it. So I feel like I'm not taking as much advantage of these resources that are out there in the tools I already have.
Well, another tool that we've talked about a lot is Canva. Canva has a bunch of AI
Yes.
things built in. Have you, like, tinkered at all in there?
Not really. I feel like once I tried to use it for language creation and it wasn't great, so then I like quickly switched back to Claude. But I do know that it has some image, I think, like you can type in I'd like an image of X, Y, and Z and it'll do that, but I haven't found a great way to use that yet. I really would love to find, if you have one, an AI tool that can create like decent looking headshots. I used one the other day, like 2 out of the 40 came out were like, "Yeah, that looks like me," and the other ones I had to show my husband, I was like, "Who is this person?" Like, this is like my kind of cousin, I guess, so some of them aren't so great, but that's one that I would love to get some, like, photos of me that I don't have to take.
Yeah, I that is actually a major blind spot for me, right? Because I am so focused on the text side of things, being that,
Yeah.
we trade in words, we trade in language as lawyers, and so that is a blind spot. Although at the time, thinking about now that we're into this series a little bit, since I am still splicing in some other episodes that are not part of this series in the Law Subscribed feed, there should be around this time an interview that comes out with a Jonathan Mast. He's got a great YouTube channel. I did have him on LinkedIn Live, so this will be a syndication of that conversation. And while we didn't talk about too much about AI image generation, I know he covers that on his YouTube channel. So definitely check out Jonathan Mast, and that could be a way that, Lauren, you could find these tools that could help you come up with a decent headshot.
Yeah, love it. I'll check that out.
Going back to your question on Claude and why you're paying for it, the reason to pay, well, I mean, look, I
Yes,
mean,
please tell me.
it's a fair question. Is like is usage limitations, right? And so, like, I will use Paxton in the same way I'm using Claude in a lot of ways, because I know what Paxton does in addition to their proprietary large language model that's legal specific. They also plug and play with the other models when it's appropriate, right? And I've been able to test this out by using some of the translation from English to Spanish and Spanish to English inside of Paxton and inside of ChatGPT, and see that it's like verbatim the same. So I'm pretty sure when it's doing translation into other languages, Paxton is probably leveraging another model like OpenAI's ChatGPT. So so I will use that sometimes, but I always go to Claude first for certain things, such as summarizing large amounts of language, like these podcast transcripts, for example. I find that Claude does a really good job with some succinct but specific prompts to take, an hour's worth of conversation or transcript or more, and do a really good job of summarizing it in a way that, again, when you craft the prompt in a good and specific way, that it will do a good job of summarizing that in whatever tense that you want, focusing on whatever particular aspect of it that you want. And I still think we need to be masters of the content itself, right? Like I participated in these conversations. So I know how to direct the AI chatbot in the right way to do the generative task that I'm asking it to do because I'm very familiar with the material. And when I read that summary of, say, a podcast transcript, I know whether or not it's accurate, right? And instead of like going in and like even typing up changes, I could just reprompt the AI to say, hey, I like that a lot. It's directionally correct. But what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to focus a little bit less on the host and more on the guest so and so, right? And then it like will redo it, and it does a really good job. So Claude has one of the largest context windows that's available for the free version and some of the paid versions. I believe Gemini at certain levels for enterprise subscribers has like a significantly larger context window. But for most lawyers listening to this or watching this, which reminder, go to YouTube and look up a different practice and law subscribed, and you can see the videos here. Mine's also to Substack subscribers. You can see the video there as well. They're not going to be an enterprise level Gemini subscriber. That's not going to make any sense from like a cost sort of basis. Um, so the problem though is like I could do like nowadays, I could do one, maybe two episodes worth of transcription summaries in Claude, and then it caps me out. And it says you've reached your maximum usage for the day. You can't use it anymore. And so you sound like a power user of Claude. And while you're maybe not doing hour-long transcripts at a time, eventually you're probably hitting limitations on, hey, you can't, prompt anymore. So paying the $20 a month or whatever it is at the time that you're listening to this, you're going to be able to have higher limits before you hit those usage limitations. And another thing is you may have a wider context window because I know they do. Even though the free version has one of the largest context windows, if not the largest one for free AI tools, and context window just means how much information can you give it and ask it against, or how much of messaging history can you query against before it forgets things or it runs out of memory. We humans have limitations with remembering things too. Think like short-term memory type thing. Like it's got short-term memory sort of limitations. One of the ways I love to think about AI and tell and encourage lawyers and just people think about AI is think about it. It doesn't think like humans think, but it mirrors the way we think and that we work a lot. So don't think it's some magical machine that can be programmed with immutable truths and will always get things right, like a calculator, because language is not an immutable truth, right? Language is all made up. We made it up. And even if we're trying to explain immutable truths with language, the language we're using is imperfect. I studied philosophy of language in college, by the way. Who knew it would come in handy to explain AI? So the other reason that you might be paying is, and you might not realize this, but you're actually getting the benefit of the most powerful model that Claude offers at the time. And so
Mm.
they name them all different things, haiku and sonnet, and like, yeah, and they give numbers 3.5, 3, 4, all these different things, right? The naming conventions make absolutely no sense with AI, but what you could be sure that you're getting access to a more powerful model that has a larger training data set and could do things that the other models can't do. So like your model that you're using right now, whether you know it or not, could do coding. You could code things, right? I think Python might be its default, and we're not going to get too much in the weeds there because like the lawyers listening are not going to be into that. Like
It just glazed over. I felt it. I felt the glaze.
right, right. But like if you're a lawyer and you're listening and you've ever been interested in coding, like Replit is another really interesting one because you could sort of see a pre-rendering in Replit of it. I think Claude now lets you see a pre-rendering of the thing you're asking it to code as well. So like what could be really powerful about tools like Claude and Replit, and I'm actually using ChatGPT less and less these days because so many other AI tools just they're GPT wrappers and they incorporate that model. And there are limitations with the API, and like that's getting way down the rabbit hole. Again, check out Jonathan Mast, who could explain them in a little bit more technical detail. But like sometimes working with the tools directly do give you more feature sets and capabilities than when you're leveraging it when it's connected to like another source. Um, so I'm pretty sure you could do coding stuff in ChatGPT too, but I know just from reading up on it that Claude and from playing around with it a little bit, that with the paid version of Claude, you could actually see these pre-renderings and have far fewer limitations, so more capabilities when you're trying to test things out. So if you're a firm owner, which if you're listening to this, you are a firm owner or an aspiring law firm owner, you might think, well, I have to buy all these off-the-shelf tools, which a lot of these AI tools we're going to talk about are like off-the-shelf tools where it's like if the question of buy versus build, well, back in the day, to build like would cost tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And now for, some of these AI tools, it's $20 to $200 a month. And now you have this amazing tool that to build it would have cost, you know, a significant sum. Well, with Claude, with Replit, with, I believe, ChatGPT, you could tell it something like you are a coding expert. Now, and you're consulted with a law firm, so you know everything there is to know about running a law firm, right? Now I need you to code an app that does, and then do something that you're trying to accomplish in your law firm from an administrative standpoint. And so for $20 a month, using this AI tool the way that you're using it to just have better emails, have better drafts, have better whatever, you could also now code apps that you can use for your practice from the business administrative side, right? Now, I don't think most lawyers are going to do this, but if I were any legal tech company or any software company, period, I would be shaking in my boots, because when this gets out, and like this is Replit's whole business model, because you could host it on Replit too for a reasonable monthly price. So now you could actually run the app and and it's hosted, but the hosting expenses aren't too expensive, because it's just like for like a small law firm for like what this app is doing. Like the buy versus build question, I think in the near future, and this is like not a well spoken about topic. So if you're hearing this for the first time, like I listen to a lot of nerdy podcasts and read a lot of nerdy, newsletters about AI. Like this could be where the future is going. We just tell the AI, hey, I'm at dinner and we need an app that splits the bill in such a way between so many people here, and we need to have tip calculated it, and it will just build you an app that does that for that specific use case, and you plug in the numbers and it will just do it for you, right? And so like little things like that, like so Claude can definitely do that. This is a major tangent from where we started, Lauren. So is there any other follow-up questions you have, or like interest, or just commentary that you want to add?
No, this is so interesting, and then my brain, like, the gears start going of like, "Ooh, what could I come up with?" I did remember while you were talking, though, another thing that I realized that Claude Pro, or whatever the paid version is called, also does have, which I really liked, is you can teach it your language style, like how you speak. So I was able to upload a bunch of, like, blog posts that I had manually written, and social media posts, and some of the podcast transcripts where I'm talking, and sort of tell it, this is my natural language type. And now when you put it in a prompt, there's an option at the bottom that says, do you want it to write it formally or concisely or whatever? And now there's my, I think it's narrative, something, I forget what I called it. But that's really nice, that because I think the concern with AI sometimes is like it sounds like AI. Like you get this thing produced and you're like, this sounds like a robot wrote it. But I know that they are becoming smarter and in sort of in a micro way of saying, well, this is how Lauren talks. So let's write something in her native language, I guess, if that's the best way to say it. So that's a really nice feature as well. But I know that there's other platforms that you've shared that sort of take your existing knowledge base and you can do things with it. And I'm curious how you think law firms can use that. Like all of the motions we've ever drafted, how can AI help us use that better versus just having hundreds of files to search through?
Yeah. So my favorite tool for that is called Notebook LM, which I'm realizing is like not even on this list.
You
like
don't have it on your master list?
like I've just been using it. Uh,
That's so
and
funny.
and this list is a little bit fallen by the wayside, because there's been so much like rapid change happening that I feel like I need a
Oh,
full-time researcher just on this
yep.
particular project right now. Gemini, if you're a paid Gemini user for their $20 a month equivalent SKU, depending on when you're listening to this, they have a feature called Deep Research. And so Deep Research is sort of like the yin to Notebook LM's yang, where Notebook LM is your research assistant for your stuff, right? For your documents, for your everything, your corpus of data, unstructured or structured. Um, Deep Research, because Notebook LM is a Google product powered by Gemini. Deep Research is everything that's not in your corpus of data. So basically the open internet, right? Think like Perplexity, and we haven't even talked about Perplexity yet. Perplexity is my most used AI tool. It's not even close. Um, but like it's designed to be a research assistant rather than just like an answer engine like Perplexity. So it's like next level research. Like Perplexity might look at, 10 to 20 links that are relevant and reliable and synthesize an answer for you and give you citations. Deep research, and it has it for you instantaneously in like a few seconds, right? Deep research will take several minutes. Like it could take anywhere from 5 to 10 minutes right now, but it will look at 100 plus links and sources on the internet, on the open web to give you your answer. So I almost feel like I kind of want to become like a paid Gemini user just to leverage the deep research, the yin part of the yang, like so I could start doing research on the other side of outside my data, and then that might be able to keep this list a little bit more alive and accurate because it's like a full-time job to keep track of all this stuff. So yeah, so this list is a little bit out of date. It's still, I think, one of the most complete lists for legal tech or for AI tools for lawyers that's out there. I mean, it's not out there. It's something I made. But Notebook LM is like if you're a Google Workspace user, and Lauren, you're a Google Workspace user,
Yep.
like you have access to some other features that folks who just have Gmail don't get access to. And I've also been looking at the lowest level enterprise level for Google Workspace, which might be instead of like I'm at $12 a month now, it might be like 20 or 24 or $25 a month. So you're paying that $20 a month anyway for the Gemini Pro, whatever the equivalent is, but you're actually getting it as a workspace user and access to more features in Notebook LM, access to this deep research tech. And you also can do certain things on the enterprise scale of Google Workspace. That's not just the business level. That is like live stream from Google Meet to other platforms. And so there's like some other cool features that I've actually been looking into making that switch lately. Cause I was just looking into live stream. Like, can I not use Zoom anymore? Because I'm already paying for Google Meet. Well, I can't like live stream to LinkedIn through a custom streaming link if I don't have Zoom. And so that's pretty much the only reason I'm still using Zoom. Like seriously. So there's, whatever $20 a month I would say, well, could I just put that towards, you know, this these Gemini features and better Notebook LM features towards my Google Workspace. And now through Google Meet, I could like live stream to LinkedIn. So I'm still figuring that out. I have an inbound into like somebody from Google that I could hopefully ask them questions about it because unsurprisingly, the AI isn't giving me answers to anything, unfortunately. And at the time of recording, Lauren, you and I realized, like, as of today, maybe, like Gemini is now built in for Google Workspace users. You don't actually have to pay extra to get some Gemini features. Are they good? Well, in our early experimentations, no. No, they're not. And if you're interested in seeing Lauren and I play around with some of these Gemini features, I highly encourage that you become a paid subscriber to Law Subscribed. I know, Lauren, you want to say a little bit about some of your paid offerings for a different practice so folks know how to do that?
Yeah, you can go to differentpractice.com/coaching for all of those. I don't have anything cool like exclusive content yet, but Matthews, of course, I leave all these episodes with so many ideas. But all of the paid, like getting office hours and time to chat with me and my solo operating system that you can go through on your own and learn everything you need to know about launching a law firm is all there at a differentpractice.com/coaching.
Right. So I'm gonna then give Lauren the extra content that we made before we were clicked record, but it's not publishing in this episode. And then Lauren, you could give that, your subscribers, to your coaching program access to that. We also need to do a part one, part two intro outro
Yep.
for this. And we could do it while we're wearing the actual clothes and then like
Yay!
our hair slash facial hair is like actually looks the same.
All right, that concludes part one of our conversation about AI and tech. Be sure to stay tuned for the next episode where we pick it back up and give you even more insights in how to use AI in your law firm.